Now let's talk about the greater than operator. The greater than operator returns true if the first value is greater than the second value, otherwise it returns false. So starting with a simple example, 5 is greater than 2, which is true, that's why it returns true, because 5 is indeed bigger than 2. And similarly, positive numbers are always bigger than negative numbers, so 8 is greater than minus 3, which is true. And when it comes to negative numbers, the smaller the number is, or the closer it is to 0, the bigger it is. So minus 2.5 is actually bigger than minus 22, and it returns true. Now this also works with strings as well. So just like with numbers, you can do this on strings. With strings, A is the smallest, then B, then C, then D, and all the way up to Z. So B is greater than A returns true, because B is indeed greater than A. Similarly, if numbers are actually typed as strings, for example the string 2 is greater than string 1, is true, because even with numbers inside strings, 0 is the smallest, then 1, then 2, then 3, and so on. However, if the first value is actually not greater than the second value, the greater than operator returns false. For example, 6 is greater than 90, which is not true, returns false. And similarly, minus 45 is greater than minus 7, also returns false, because minus 45 is not greater than 7. And of course, if the two values are equal, they're not greater than one another, they're equal to one another. That's why 5 is greater than 5 returns false, because 5 is not greater than 5, they're equal. Now when it comes to strings, if you have numbers and letters at the same time, the numbers are smaller. So 0, 1, 2, 3, these numbers are smaller. After these numbers, then we have uppercase letters. For example, uppercase A, uppercase B, and after those, we have lowercase letters, lowercase a and lowercase b. That's why the string 0 is greater than string b returns false, because that's not true. String 0 is a lot smaller, and string lowercase b is actually a lot bigger. However, this can cause some problems. For example, with strings, the greater than calculations are actually done character by character. So the first character, then the second character, then the third character, and so on. So with numbers, 12 is greater than 2 would return true. But if they're typed as strings, so for example, string 12 is greater than string 2 is actually false. Why? Because string 12 starts with 1 and string 2 starts with 2. And because strings are matched from left to right, character by character, 2 is actually bigger than string 12. And that's why if you want correct numerical comparisons, you should convert the strings into numbers. Otherwise, because of character by character matching, the expression might return false. Now the opposite of the greater than operator is the less than operator, which returns true if the first value is less than the second value. So 6 is less than 90 returns true because 6 is indeed smaller than 90. And as with negative numbers, minus 45 is less than minus 7, which also returns true because minus 45 is indeed less than minus 7. And it works on strings as well. So remember, with strings, 0, 1, 2, 3, these are the smallest, then uppercase letters, and then lowercase letters. And with strings, characters are matched from left to right, character by character. That's why the string 0 is less than the string b returns true, because in string comparisons, 0 is smaller than b. And similarly, the string 12 is less than string 2, which returns true, but if they were numbers, it would have returned false. But because they're strings and the matching is done from left to right, character by character, 12 is actually smaller than 2. Now if the first value is actually not smaller than the second value, the less than operator returns false. So 5 is less than 2 returns false. Similarly, 8 is less than minus 3 also returns false because 8 is bigger than minus 3. It's not less than minus 3. And with negative numbers, for example, minus 2.5 is less than minus 22 is also false. And if the numbers are the same, then the less than operator, just like the greater than operator, returns false. So 5 is less than 5 is false because 5 is equal to 5. because the first value is not even a bit less than the second value. They're exactly equal. And with strings, string B is less than string A returns false, because B is bigger than A when it comes to strings. And similarly, string 2 is less than string 1 returns false. Now let's talk about the greater than or equal to operator. The greater than or equal to operator works exactly like the greater than operator, but it also returns true if the values are equal. So it's pretty simple. So 5 is greater than or equal to 2, it returns true. Because 5 is indeed greater than 2. It's not equal to 2, but it doesn't matter. 5 is greater than 2, and that's why it returns true. 7 is greater than or equal to 7, returns true. If we wrote 7 is greater than 7, it would return false, because 7 is not greater than 7. But 7 is greater than or equal to 7 returns true, because although 7 is not greater than 7, it is equal. So if it's either bigger, it'll return true, or if they're the same, it'll return true as well. And it works for strings as well. So the string Z is greater than or equal to the string C, which returns true, because Z comes after C. And similarly, string B is greater than or equal to string B, also returns true, because although it's not greater, they are the same. However, if the first value is not greater than the second value, or they're not equal as well, it returns false. So 4 is greater than or equal to 6 returns false, because 4, first of all, is not greater than 6, and it's not equal to 6 as well. So neither returns true, so it's false. And similarly, string C is greater than or equal to string D returns false, because string C is not greater than string D, and they're not equal as well. The opposite is the less than or equal to operator. So 2 is less than or equal to 5 returns true, because 2 is indeed less than 5. And if they're the same, it returns true as well. So 3 is less than or equal to 3, which returns true, because while 3 is not less than 3, it is equal to 3. And string C is less than or equal to string Z, which also returns true. Similarly, string V is less than or equal to string V, returns true, because they are the same. And 6 is less than or equal to 4 returns false, because 6, first of all, is not less than 4, and it's not equal to 4 as well, so ultimately it returns false. And string D is less than or equal to string C returns false as well, because D is bigger than C. They're not equal either.